Hey guys, happy Thursday. Hope your week is going well. Official start of summer, so that's exciting. Beth, I know we were just talking before we hit record here. Busy week for both of us. So, wanted to talk today a little bit about that realtor loan officer relationship. What maybe some expectations are, especially when you're introverted and maybe it's a little bit harder to put yourself out there, like maybe some of our extroverted friends do, and just some of the dynamics that come along with that. So, we're not even really sure where today's topic will lead us, but we both thought it'd be a good idea to just talk about it, especially since this group is probably about 50-50 with loan officers and real estate agents. So, Beth, you came up with the idea for the topic. Why don't you kind of set the stage for us a little bit there?
Sure. I was just thinking, let's open up the can of worms and have a real discussion of what the relationships looks like. How do you go out and meet people? Like, I know for me, being on the realtor side, when a lender asks me to coffee and I was new in the business, I said yes. Now, as an established realtor, when a lender asks me to coffee, I'm a nice person, so I usually try to say yes, but the my personality is, oh no, I don't know if I need one more lender expecting referrals from me. So I kind of wondered, well, how is it on the mortgage lender side of things?
I think the big thing or the elephant in the room is obviously the market's more of a challenge this year. We don't have on the lending side, we don't have the refinances to keep us busy along with the purchases. It's just the purchase transactions. You on the real estate side, if you can work with a cash buyer, that's obviously the golden ticket there. But you're probably getting bombarded with a lot of calls from lenders that want to have a cup of coffee and talk about how great you are. And they probably call you on a Monday morning. I know is one of the coaching programs that really preaches that. So I guess I'll just start, Beth, with you and I, just to explain to the audience, you and I actually do not work together on a referral relationship at all. You work with one of the loan officers that's a good friend of mine here in the office and have for several years. I think you and I have maybe been involved in some of the same transactions over time, but we do not refer business back and forth, which is kind of an interesting dynamic for this call. But I've always thought that it's really easy to have that first appointment where you kind of get rid of the superficial, like, where do you live? How long you been in the business? Do you have any kids? That type of stuff. And then it's always tough for me, probably as an introvert, but maybe a little bit of the social anxiety, maybe that even kicks in of like, what do you talk about that next appointment? And how do you go from, okay, to what you just said, like, I'll meet with them because, I'm a nice person and upper Midwest, we're kind of all that same personality. Like we want to be cordial and friendly and everything, but a lot of times it doesn't go anywhere after that. And I think from a loan officer perspective, you kind of nailed it. You need a lot of real estate agents to be able to refer you business because we have to do a lot more loans than you do transactions on buy side or sell side. So we struggle with how do we go from Beth's a nice person, she was great to talk to how do you develop that relationship over time? And I know the loan officer you work with here in our office. Pretty well outside the office and have done a lot of things with you and your spouse and them. And but it's always a struggle. How do you go from they're a nice person and I think we have some, mutual things that we have mutual interests or whatnot outside of work. But how do you go from that to building a partnership? I think is what you're talking about. And I guess for me, it comes a little bit easier when you have a lot in common with that person. You share the same interests. For me, it would be related to sports and kids that are the same age and that type of thing. But what is it for you, Beth? Like what? Waylon is his name in our office here. I'll just throw that out there. But what is it that made you and Waylon connect over the years and actually keep that relationship going? And then what are some other things where maybe you've seen it fall off after maybe a transaction or two?
Sure. I think it just almost takes the trial and the error. It's like getting to know somebody at that initial coffee meeting is great, but this is a business for me, just like it's a business for you. And so you have to do your job and I have to do my job. And we both have to do our jobs extremely well in order to probably keep a strong relationship. Because if I find somebody that I really enjoy as a person, but on a lender scale of 1 to 10, he's a 6, I can probably find several other lenders that are a 9 to a 10.
Mhm.
And so to me, it is more about just the personal relationship. It's, can you provide for my clients professionally? Because now my name's behind yours. And and if you screw it up, I look bad, and don't make me look bad. I always joke that I am one of those realtors that's like, I expect a lot out of my lender. I do, but it's also because I give 110% to my clients. And so it's finding that match. Now, I'm different than other realtors. Some realtors are like, here, lender, here's the deal. Don't screw it up. And also, don't ever call me. I don't want updates. You only call me if it's not going to close. Otherwise, I could care less. I'm more of a type of realtor that's like, please keep me in the loop, because I need to, you need to like gain my trust that I know you've got this. And then once I know you've got it, then it's kind of like, you don't have to call me so often, I can trust you. Do you feel that pressure to perform for your realtor partners?
I think the big thing is on the lending side, a lot of agents are asking for dollars for advertising to split like Zillow leads and things like that, right? And to me, if that's how it starts off, that's probably not going to be a great fit, because it's very, very transactional. And I think you kind of hit it there. You need to have both. You need to really have a strong relationship and get along with that person. Otherwise, you're going to hate that transaction the whole time. If they do a really good job as a loan officer, Beth, but you can't stand that person's personality, you're probably not going to refer to them, right? And if they're a really nice person, but they're terrible at their job as a loan officer, you're probably not going to refer to them as well. So I think you hit it there, where they need to be really good at both. I think on the loan officer side, unfortunately, we don't get a lot of people that come to us first. They come to the real estate agent first. They still do. It's maybe changing a little bit over the last few years, but we don't have as many referrals to hand out. So if we have 5 to 10 agents that we feel like we're working with, it's hard to keep everybody, kind of satisfied with the number of referrals. So you've got to actually go above and beyond in other areas. So doing obviously a really good job for that client on the financing, but then also we always preach, like, you've got to always make it about that real estate agent and bring them back in. And first conversation you have with that borrower, you've got to talk about how awesome Beth is to work with and how you're so lucky you got her as an agent. And if we can help that agent get more referrals from that client, that's kind of in an indirect way to give more referrals out. So I think that's probably the strategy from the loan officer side, unless you're doing like a consumer direct strategy on the side and you've got some real referrals to hand out, or you work for a bank or credit union that's just got people walking in the door. It's just really tough for a loan officer to have those referrals, which is why I think they all go after the real estate agents. So
Yeah. That's how you described it, because I know Waylon does that for me. He'll talk about, oh, Beth's a great agent and Beth's going to treat you well and Beth knows what she's doing and she's a full-time agent. But I never really thought about it as like, that's his way of being, hey, Beth, I probably can't send you a lot of business directly, because it's just not the last year or 2 years now have not been the years where I'm getting a ton of lender referrals. Yet I'm constantly referring. And so if I'm honest, there are moments where I'm like, well, how is this ratio like 10 to 0? Like this sucks. I feel like I need to find somebody that's more of an even split. But the reality is that like the pond's just bleak for a lot of lenders. And so just knowing that perspective of he or she as a mortgage lender has your back in other ways to hopefully try to bring you business.
So that actually makes me think of a question for you. So if you're the agent and someone wants to go out for coffee or talk to you or whatever, lunch, you name it, whatever, wants to just meet you for the first time, what would make someone who's successful like yourself want to take that appointment? And then what would they have to do to actually earn your business would they have to refer you someone first? Would you have to just organically be on the other end of a transaction where they happen to be working on that? Like, how would they get their foot in the door? Especially, let's gear this towards introverts, because that's who we're talking with, of course. How would they get their foot in the door with you, Beth, on something like that? What would be the key there?
Okay, so this opinion might just solely be my opinion, and apologies if it's like taken a little harsh. So this is just me. Yeah. Getting your foot in the door with me is not hard, because I am Midwestern nice and I will just meet with anybody. But staying your foot in the door now as an experienced realtor is a lot harder because I already have other people I know, like, and trust, and we've established those businesses. So as a more experienced agent, it is more of a referral partnership. And if there is no referrals coming my way, I probably won't take time for you.
Makes sense. That's totally fair. If let's say I'm out there and I'm working with you, Beth, on a transaction. We actually, there was no referral back and forth. We each got to, the borrower, the client in different ways. What would that loan officer have to do to impress you along the way, where it's like, oh, I actually think, almost like they would reverse, you would almost be drawn to them rather than them even having to reach out to you. It's like, hey, you did a really good job. Is it just communication? Is there more to it than that? Like, what do you think there?
I think we probably have to treat it like we do our clients. Hey, Beth, I see we're going to be doing a deal together with, ABC client. I wanted to touch with you because we've never done a deal before. Introduce myself and ask you, how can I best meet your needs? Are you a realtor that wants me to call you every week with an update? Do you want just text messages? What is your preferred method of communication? Because you might assume this realtor wants a weekly update, and this particular realtor might go, I got enough business. I just need to know if it's falling apart. Don't waste my time. So asking how they want to be communicated with. And then you kind of get a better idea of okay, that's how I meet their need or their expectation. And then I think when the deal's all over, it's calling them and saying, hey, I know this is the first deal we did together. I thought it went really smooth. I wanted to check on your end how you thought this transaction went. And then it's almost like treating it like another client of, hey, I'd love to do another deal with you. I think we proved that both of us work really hard. We can get a deal done. Let's do more of this. And it's like asking for that referral from a realtor perspective, rather than just assuming, because I might just assume he's a top producer. He doesn't need me. Why would I send another one his way? Just like our clients probably assume that. Well, Beth doesn't need any more business. I see her on Instagram all the time. She's super busy. It's like, no, I have to ask for that business.
Excellent point. I think there's a lot of that where you just assume the other person is thinking the same thing. And if you don't say that part out loud, it'll probably never happen. And then you also hit on something I think is interesting, because a lot of the coaching groups on the mortgage side, at least 3 of them that I'm aware of, they would preach. You've got to call that real estate agent every Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it is and give them an update. And the point of the update is not actually to update them, it's to build that relationship. But you hit on something there that might actually be kind of an annoyance to you as an agent, and maybe not you yourself, but others that maybe are super busy and the phone call is like, leave me alone. I've got stuff to do. Maybe even it's a text or an email, but it's not that phone call. So I think that's interesting, because a lot of the coaching programs will tell you something different as a loan officer. So what would you recommend on that? Would you, like you said, you would just ask them up front and then follow through 100% with what you said you're going to do?
Yeah. And I think it's just being honest. Hey, you told me from the beginning that you'd prefer text updates. I usually like to be more thorough than that, but were you happy with the amount of updates you got? Did I overwhelm you at all? I just always want to make sure that I'm performing, but also meeting your expectations, asking that along the way. The other thing I do is, as a realtor, is when I get a lender referral, because it just comes to me from one way or another, I call that lender and say, hey, my name's Beth Meyer of 605 Real Estate. I've never done a deal with you, but I wanted to call and introduce myself. I wanted to let you know how I do business, how I'll stay on top of it, that communication is really important to me, and that I won't drop this ball. And I promise to take care of your client. Could do the same for us.
And that's actually what I preach to the loan officers here, is that's what you should be doing, is reaching out to your realtor. Every time you get a purchase transaction, it's a new name on there. Even if it's an existing one you've worked with before, you got to make that part of the routine, is reaching out to both agents, introducing yourself. So is that uncommon, Beth? Do you not see that very often, that the loan officer actually is proactive and reaching out to you, or are you usually reaching out to them?
Yeah, I don't know how often I've had a loan officer reach out to me. It's usually me going, hey, I want them to make sure they know I'm not a schmuck. So I'm going to call them, but they usually don't call me.
So if you picked up on that, if you're still listening, we're 14 and a half minutes in. Beth hit on something big there. It's so easy to do, is just you get the purchase agreement, rather than jumping into the disclosures and ordering the appraisal and locking the rate and everything. Take the extra 5 minutes, call Beth or whoever the agent is on the buyer side, the other side, introduce yourself. That can put a huge leg up on your competition because they're not doing it, is what Beth's saying. I would assume that's a case across the country because the things that are so easy to do are also easy to just skip over because it's not a requirement to get that loan closed, but it'll set you apart if you're a loan officer. And like Beth's saying, if you're a real estate agent, do the same thing on the flip side because that loan officer is probably not reaching out to you. The more connections, the more attention, the more referrals you potentially have on the table. So I think that's excellent point. Beth, anything else to kind of put a bow on this topic? We could probably talk about it all day because it's something that obviously feeds our families with referrals and is kind of the lifeblood of the industry. But anything with a loan officer that they could do differently or better that would kind of win you over, or agents in general?
I would say my opinion is only my opinion. So I would love to see what other people comment on this video from the lender or realtor perspective of what is important to them, because there's definitely other opinions and other things that even like I could learn from. So that's my bow. Let's get interaction. I want to learn from you other realtors what you expect, what your realtor partners are like, or your lender partners are like, and let me learn something from all of you too.
Well, that's the takeaway. That's the topic here in the post. So lenders, comment what you're looking for from a real estate partner. Realtors, comment what you're looking for in a lender partner. Let's get some interaction going. Have a great weekend, everybody. And Beth and I will be back again next week. Enjoy your weekend.